want to talk about this crazy topic here of Chicago is considering government-run grocery stores. And to me, this is insane, insane. So here's the deal: is that in Chicago right now, especially in some of the poorer neighborhoods of Chicago, a lot of grocery chains are moving out. It's not just the Walmarts and the Targets of the world, but even a lot of grocers are moving out, largely because of theft and crime is on the rise, homelessness is on the rise. There's just a lot more chaos and security issues in their stores. And it's gotten to the point where some of these stores are saying, we're done here. I mean, we're not making money here. It's more of a hassle than it's worth, and we're pulling out. And now, as a result, there are some of these neighborhoods that have these, they call them food deserts, where there aren't grocery stores. And the mayor of Chicago, the city of big shoulders, is threatening to work on a pathway towards opening a city-owned grocery store. Well, if the private sector won't provide groceries to some of our impoverished communities, then the government's going to do it. Really? The government's going to do it? Government, now, this is just my take here. Government at all levels really don't need to be involved in the provision of basic goods and services, whether we're talking about food or airlines, utilities, communications, garbage, healthcare, taxis, even the post office. Even government should probably get out of the business of outer space. I mean, we're seeing private space companies that are launching satellites and doing it dramatically more efficiently than NASA has ever been able to do. We have to start asking our question, is this the right role of government? And is this really solving the problem? By putting in government grocery stores, are you still solving the problem of crime and homelessness and all these other things that plagued those private industries and got them to leave? I mean, it sounds like those problems would still exist, even if the grocery stores were run by the government. And it does invite, this. I have this photo there of Boris Yeltsin, who at the time was he the prime minister of Russia? This is like pre-Putin, and he was in Houston to go to the Johnson Space Center to see Mission Control, and he went into a grocery store, and this is like in the early 1990s. And you can see the expression on his face in the grocery store. He's like, "I can't believe this. Look at all of this selection, all these options, all these different products that are available to Americans. I go into my government-run grocery store in the USSR or in Russia, and there's nowhere near this kind of selection. There's shortages. And here, there's abundance. There's more product here than we could ever use. It's so abundant." But that's the kind of model that the city of Chicago is considering doing, a government-run grocery stores, and we've already seen this fail in the USSR and Russia and other socialist nations. It just doesn't work. And part of the reason it doesn't work is because politics and government have different incentives than the private industry. Private industry wants to make money. Private industry wants to satisfy customers. Private industry wants win-win outcomes where the customer is served and the business makes money. They trade. You buy bananas and fruit and milk and eggs, and the grocery store makes money. But government enterprises do not work that way at all. They want to achieve a political outcome that makes their voters feel good, even if it costs more money, even if they lose money. And they want to set prices from central command. They want central planners to set prices, thinking that they know better than the market. And when they do, they end up creating shortages or surpluses and all these distortions. It just doesn't work. But yet the progressive mayor in Chicago is considering going forward with this. And I think this is bananas. He says, all Chicagoans deserve to live near convenient, affordable, healthy grocery options. But this is Chicago, people. I mean, this is Chicago where the mob has run Chicago politics for decades. According to this article from reason.com, more than 36 Chicago aldermen have been indicted by federal grand juries over the past 50 years. You expect those kinds of people, these corrupt politicians, to run a business that's going to thrive where Walmart and Whole Foods and Aldi, among other chains are packing and moving out? I don't think so. Now, Chicago has tremendously high crime, high taxes, high regulations, and make it even more difficult for new entrepreneurs to come in and provide grocery solutions. I mean, the big guys are moving out. The big guys have the resources, but they're not providing incentives for the little guys because they make it so expensive to do business. Grocery operators have pointed to crime and homelessness as reasons they've needed to invest more in security, driving up costs, according to Amanda Lai, a Chicago director of food industry practice for the consulting firm McMillan Doolittle. These grocers are also dealing with hefty overhead costs in cities. Chicago boasts the second highest commercial property taxes in the country and the second highest combined state and local sales tax. Well, is that an environment to encourage more entrepreneurship? No, it's not. Um, and you think you're going to solve this with a government-run grocery store? It's just bananas. So in the article, they cited Mitch Daniels, who was the former Republican governor of Indiana, went on to be president of Purdue, and he had an interesting quote, and he calls it the Yellow Pages test. And I've even heard Richard Ryder here in San Diego, who's a big anti-tax advocate, talk about the Yellow Pages test. Is that, and granted, who uses the Yellow Pages anymore? But if you bear with me, if you're old school, if you can find 2 or 3 vendors, private industries, commercial companies that are doing business in a particular category, then you shouldn't have the government doing it. You should leave it to the private sector, and they can compete to try to provide the highest level of service at the lowest price. But oftentimes, government wants to get involved thinking they're going to do the right thing for the quote common good, but they end up making it worse. So according to Daniels, the Yellow Pages test is if a good or service had multiple providers listed in the business section of the telephone directory, okay, again, that's a bit of a time warp, the government shouldn't be doing it. It makes obvious sense to pare back your commitments, especially if you're already failing at the core functions of government. But it doesn't make political sense either, especially when every increase in the size, scope, and spending of government gives you more power to reward your friends with jobs, contracts, and other levels of status. That's the cronyism that creeps in. So you know that if government runs grocery stores, they're going to be making deals, that are going to benefit the politician and their reelection chances, that are going to favor some businesses rather than others, some suppliers rather than others for political reasons, not necessarily to have the most economic buy or to have the best quality of service or quality of product. They're going to be based on political motivations rather than rational, fiscally interested motivations. And then the Chicago Tribune wrote an opinion piece, and they said, if there's a silver lining to Mayor Johnson's ridiculous proposal, is that it sounds a lot more like vaporware than a hardcore commitment. So let's hope that's the case. But really, city-owned grocery stores. I mean, we're already talking now about city-owned utility companies. San Diego's county is getting involved in this. City governments are trying to create a competitor to San Diego Gas and Electric. And there should be competitors to San Diego Gas and Electric. The problem is government the right agency to do that? I don't think they are. Again, I think they have different motivations. And what they're going to end up doing is giving away stuff for free to special interest groups that they like and making other people pay more, just kind of the way the tax system is built. And I don't think that's the right way to go. But anyways, that's the Chicago city-run grocery stores. Okay, last comment